Well, howdy, y'all, collector car fans. This is Jason, the owner and founder of Southern Bush Motorsports. We're on another Tales from the Bush. This one, I don't know what I'm going to call this because this was such a weird trip. So let's just call this the farm guy. I got a call from a guy because I had sold a bunch of cars in this area from some farmers and stuff. I've been up there for about a month. And this guy, I don't even know how to explain it. Just flabbergasted. I got in before anybody else got in here. You're gonna see some pictures and be like, oh man, I remember that place. I got in there before anybody else got in there, and I bought most of the really good cars. Now, this guy was a farmer, a cattle farmer. I believe it was in Kentucky. But this guy had some shit. And he stored everything. He saved everything. I'm talking parts, cars, stuck them all in like cow barns and stuff like that. It was just mind blowing what this guy had done. Absolute genius, complete genius. You know, he saved everything that he could find when he was on the road and driving around or whatever. Cars from that town. It was just wild what this guy had. And I went through the whole place, and I was the first one to go out there. He told me, he goes, this is the first time anybody's ever come out here and done something like this with the videos and the pictures. So I know I was the first one out there. Look at this cow barn. And he stuffed these cars in there. He stuffed the rafters with parts, with fenders. And I'm not talking about junk parts. This guy was very meticulous about the stuff that he saved. Very meticulous. And I'm really sorry about the quality of these pictures. But I'll tell you what, right now, you'll thank me later. This guy took in everything. He stored everything. He saved everything when he stripped a car. The funny thing is, a lot of the cars that he had out there, he didn't bother to strip. He wanted to keep them original. It was the cars that came in that were junk, trashed, rolled over, not savable. Those are the cars. The guy, you know, okay, so he was a farmer. But just because you're a farmer doesn't mean you're not an absolute friggin' genius for doing what you do. I bought so many of these cars that were in this pole barn before anybody else got to it. And I stressed before anybody else got to it, I bought that car right there. That was a 71 Roadrunner 440 air grabber, gunmetal gray. Oh God, that car was gorgeous. I hated letting that thing go. I actually wanted to keep it. 70 Roadrunner. But the importance of why I say I was there before anyone else was there, that was an actual petty blue Duster. Real petty blue car. The reason I say it's important that I was there before anybody else, because a lot of people got in here afterwards after seeing my videos and stuff and saying that they were the first ones to find it. But, you know, proof is in the pudding. Here's the pictures. I got in there before anybody else even found out about this guy. And I just, it was so hard to, I think I stayed out in my van in this guy's field for over a month. I think I personally bought 9 cars from him for myself to add to my collection. But this guy had so many cars and so many parts. To even be to a place that at this level of collecting was mind-blowing. Look at that. Parts stacked on top of parts, on top of the car, on top of parts. Convertibles. I won't say this guy had a genre that he really collected to. He didn't collect anything special. He had all the brands out there. He collected everything. He had a special area for cars that he had done and started working on. I mean, and a lot of these cars, he told me they all came from the town that he was in over the years, over 30, 35 years. He just cars that he had towed, cars that he had picked up. That 4-speed pedal. Yeah, ring ring. But this guy was just smart because he knew that he foresaw the future. This man foresaw the future that these cars, parts, were all going to have value to them later on in life. Look at that pole barn. Look, you see all those poles and stuff. This was an old cattle farm that he used, and he decided to fill it up with all these cars thought there was more value in that. Look, just six-pack air cleaners just lying around like they're nothing. Oh wait, they're sitting on top of a six-pack 70 Roadrunner convertible. Yeah, no, that car was real. It was crazy, absolutely crazy. That was I think it was a 70 442 Cutlass. And like I said to you before, like I've said in the past videos, I haven't seen these pictures in 15 years. So as I'm going up, there was a bus that was packed full of Mopar rims. Crazy. I haven't seen these pictures in 10 years because I haven't bothered with it. I've been retired. So as these pictures are that's a pretty good picture. That's why I took that picture. You get an idea of what we're talking about. You can't even see the wall in the back. As I'm going through these pictures, I haven't seen these pictures in 10 years. The picture of that car right there, I haven't seen that picture in 10 years. I've been retired. I've been just enjoying life, but I had to come out of retirement. With all the bullshit that was going on with these scams and hustles, and this is original, and I'm not going to tell anybody it's a tribute. That's why Southern Bush Consulting started. If you're looking to buy a car, you're not really sure what to do, trust me. Get me involved. I'm not expensive. It's really not about money. I've got plenty of money. It's about the future. It really is about the future. Because I'm telling you, I've, in the past couple months, saved some people from some major screw-ups. You can't see what I see. You can't see what 30 years of experience can see. I can. It's not going to cost you much. You're talking about a $100,000 investment. It's going to cost you a couple grand for me to go to Southern Bush Consulting and get online with me. Send me the link to the car that you're taking a look at, and I'll go over it and see if there's any hustle there. And we're not even talking about the field, the cow pastures that he had in the back, with hundreds and hundreds of cars out there. It was just mind-blowing. And even though the cars that were outside, it's not like he stuck the good ones inside and put the bad ones outside. He just ran out of room. I spent the time to walk through those fields out in the back there. Boy, there was some stuff. You're talking about 70 Chevelle SS convertibles. There was a 70 six-pack Roadrunner convertible. It was just mind-blowing. Look at all those fenders. Nice fenders. He took these off cars that weren't very desirable cars, but the sheet metal was the sheet metal. And he had an area where he'd been restoring some of the cars. He really spread himself out too thin, but 69 3D3 air grabber Roadrunner. He spread them out pretty thin. He had a lot of projects going on, but he did get the stuff done. And I think he just got to a point that he was like, I got as far as I'm going to go, and I'm ready to sell off some of the cars. I mean, he was happy to get my money. I bought that car right there, that gunmetal gray 440 air grabber Roadrunner, gunmetal gray. But right off the get-go, when I realized what this guy had, I brought him back to my van and I said, listen, I want you to understand something. I know you don't know me very well. You've heard of me, but this is how I operate. And I remember he looked at me and he said, why are you carrying a gun on you? And I'm like, I'm going to show you right now why I'm carrying a gun. I came here to look at these cars. Look at that Roadrunner. I came here to look at these cars, and I want you to know that I am real. So I opened up my van. I use these camperized vans where I can be self-contained for weeks at a time. Yeah, that's what you think it is right there. And I opened up my bag, and I said, you know what that is right there? That's $250,000 cash. American. So I'm here to play. I'm not here to fart around. There's a reason why there's a dog in here. Belgian Malinois. She's extremely well trained. And why I carry a gun. Because I travel with a lot of money. 69 GTX convertible. Look at that bad boy. Sorry the pictures are so bad, but good God, that was a beautiful car. That was one he had actually finished. And I told him, I said, I'm not here to fart around. So I need to see everything. I need to document everything, take pictures of everything. And I'm going to put some money in your hands. And I think on the first day, I put $150,000 in his hands. I was a little nervous because I had my theory that, people that are desperate for money, once you put a couple $100,000 in their hand, nothing else is for sale. So I made it very clear to him. I said, this is nothing. A phone call and I got 10 times as much. I'll buy your whole place out. And I think that was a Barracuda. I told him, I said, I got no problem buying this whole thing. I'll just walk away. I'll buy your land and everything. Just walk away. And he's like, well, and he gave me a number that he was looking for. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. That's just, you're fishing. But let's get rid of some of these cars for you. Sometimes they get a little excited because they see all the money that you actually have. And they realize, well, this guy's real. I travel the way I do because I'm pretty serious about what I got going on. So he gave me access to everything where all these other people that have gone in there after me didn't have access to. He didn't show them the places. I can tell because I've seen their videos. He didn't have access to. That was a 71 440 RT Charger. Belonged to a doctor. Car looked like crap, but that bugger only had 18,000 miles on it. That's a convertible right there. Just look at this Roadrunner. God, there was just so many cars in there. And the craziest thing is, because this was up north, dirt roads, a lot of places are dirt roads. There's a Roadrunner convertible right there. They didn't use salt on the road, so these cars are super solid. I mean, super solid. No point putting dirt on a salt road, or putting salt on a dirt road. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. These cars are up north. A lot of these people were dealing with oil money back in the day, and look at that picture, that pole barn, cars all the way across, and that's an RT right there, Cornet RT. I think it was a 67. It's some weird cars out there, stuff I wasn't really interested in, but it was cool as hell to see a car like that right there, completely untouched. That car right there, convertible, completely untouched. Nothing had been done to that car. That is the original paint. Not a real per se muscle car, but you see that Charger beside it. That was a RT car right there. Look at that bumblebee stripe. Parts. This guy had parts shoved everywhere, and important stuff too, like nice window trim and back glasses and doors, fenders. Cars that had been totaled, he cut the whole quarter panel off them. The guy was just like, look at these seats. Okay? Tell me you haven't restored a car and you needed bucket seats for a 67 Nova SS and couldn't find them anywhere. This guy had them. He had no qualm about keeping all these parts. And yeah, the parts needed to be restored, whatever, but at least you had the base to go with it. Sublime green car. I tried to pull that car out, but it was too much. It was really too much. Plus, it didn't have the engine in it. As you can see, it just kind of wasn't worth the trouble. But he had all these Roadrunners. I will say he had kind of a thing with Roadrunners. He really liked to get his Roadrunners going on. I'm really sorry about some of these pictures, but it was really, he had lights in there, but it was kind of dark. I think that's the interior of that Charger out there. Look at that, doors with glass in them. Trust me, I've restored some cars, and I would kill for some of those doors on a car with all the glass in them. That's that doctor's Charger again. There's not a lot of things I kick my ass about. I should have picked that damn car. All those buses right there, not junk, full of parts. Good parts. Stuff that people couldn't get anywhere else. But this guy had no internet. He had no way to advertise. It was all word of mouth, and I was hoping to change that for him. But I couldn't get rid of everything, and I just, like I said, I got to a point. I said, look, what do you want for the whole thing? The property, everything. I got the money. I'll take care of it all. You can still live in your house for as long as you want. You can keep your house and just let me buy everything on the property. This was one field of like 3. '70 Roadrunner there. Rough car, but car is what it is. Rough, but numbers matching, front to back. Look at that. Look at these parts. He saved everything. He didn't fart around. He saved absolutely everything. It wasn't until we got into those places there that I could see all the parts he had actually saved, and it got to be like crazy. Like, dude, if this guy could be put onto the line and an office can be set up, that's Super B. Untouched, Super B. That right there, that 69 GTO, I kick myself for not picking that car up. Plum crazy purple Duster. Actually, I think that was a Demon. Got the snorkels on the hood and everything. Untouched car. 69 Roadrunner, 383 air grabber. Like, it just, guy was just a freaking genius, man. He pulled all the cars that he found off the road and stuck them in this building. He just kept stuffing them in there and stuffing them in there. I bought that 68 Charger right there. Love that car. And there was nothing fancy about that 68 Charger that I bought, but that thing was solid as hell, which saves 70% of the work. Picture of a fender tag. I don't remember what that was from. It's just crazy. Every one of those buses is full of valuable parts. Absolutely valuable parts. Not parts he took off these cars. Just parts that he saved off of cars that weren't worth saving or couldn't be saved. There's that GTO. It's just one of the things I really kicked myself for not picking that car up. Look at the interior on that. Nothing special, but completely untouched car. Car after car after car just packed into this barn. Like I said, there was no Hemi cars in there. There was a few six-pack cars in there, but there was no Yankos or W3442s. But there was some really cool stuff in this collection, and I wish I had the money to buy the whole bunch. I did, but the number he threw on at me was, it didn't make any sense to me. If anyone could guess how much this guy would want for all this stuff, look at these seats. Rough, but the structure's there. The seats are there. The parts are there. When I asked him what he wanted for the whole place, the number was just, it didn't make any sense to me. It was too much. Like, considering all the parts and stuff, I told him, I said, look, I realize the number that you want, but the amount of work that it would take to actually sell all this stuff off, and the fact that I'd have to move up here for a year, it's not really economically viable for me to do that, even though it kind of was, but I didn't know what to do with this situation because, like I said, I was the first one in there. Nobody had been in that place. He even told me that people just stopped buying that, but nobody had ever come that was like, as big as me, that was ready to actually do something with this stuff. Look at all those fenders, man. Some of the cars, when he got them, had already been stripped out and stuff like that. The whole place wasn't like numbers matching cars complete. Look at these fenders stacked up. Like they're nothing. That was an RT car. That right there was an RT car as well. This is a bit of a longer video, but it was worth the Mons. Nothing fancy. But this thing still got the original hubcaps on it. That's that 68 Charger that I picked up. Look at how solid that car is. Boy, that thing was rough. It had bird crap all over it and stuff, but it was rough. Look at these nuts and screws. Are you kidding me? He had everything itemized. Like, he would strip a car off. He'd take a 68 Charger apart with a 318 in it, and he would keep every single nut and bolt, and he would itemize it and label it and put it in one of those drawers there. Like, it was just insane how organized this guy was. He had a plan. And you talk about a plan. He had a plan on what he wanted to do. And he looked at it like this was his plan, and he wanted to play it out. And it was 70 Roadrunner. That was an air grabber car. You can see the air grabber on it. Just endless. It was so crazy to see all of these cars piled into this building, this old cow barn. if I remember right, that was the GTX. I can't remember what was in that thing. But it gives a good indication underneath the car there how solid these cars were. Lots of surface rust, which doesn't mean much. Because when you dip it, at least you still got the metal there. You know, there's no way to tell you that, you know, as long as you got solid metal, when they strip it, at least you got something to work with. Look at that interior. He did good work when he restored cars. You know, he restored quite a few of them. He did really good work. But you know what? At the end of the day, the kind of money he was asking for the whole place, there's that 440. It wasn't a six-pack. It was a 440 air grabber, gunmetal gray Roadrunner. And I actually fired that car up, unbroke the brakes that were locked up on it when I got back to South Carolina, and fired that car up, and I drove it around. As rough as that car was, I drove it around. Same with that 68 Charger that I just bought. There's another convertible. And there's another convertible. I think that was a 69 Roadrunner. Another convertible. You know, I really appreciate everybody coming by and checking out this Tales from the Bush, which was called Run Up North, I think it was. Or no, the farm guy. And stay tuned for more Tales from the Bush. Brought to you from Jason at Southern Bush Motorsports.